Hi guys, it's Grandma Ingrid and Nicole again. We're back to see you guys. We wanted to show you guys today how to make a quick fermented slaw. St. Patrick's Day is over. You might have some extra cabbage laying around, or you might have grabbed it at the store thinking it's a green veggie that will be good for my kids to eat or for me to eat, and you don't know what to do with it. This is one option. We have green cabbage here. You can use the purple cabbage if you want to. We always just use the green.
You mix them?
You can mix them, have a variety pack, whatever you guys have laying around your house. But this is a quick fermented product. It's using lacto-fermentation, and so it's good for your gut. It creates those probiotics that makes it healthy for you and protects your gut and everything with those good probiotics that we all need. And this one differs from our kimchi as it's not spicy, and you don't have to have fish sauce. You don't have to have a bunch of things. It's a bunch of things you probably have in your house. So it's going to call for some cabbage, some limes, onions, jalapenos, and carrots. You can add other veggies to it if you want to, but this is what this little quick slaw has in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up my cabbage. I'm going to decore it, so I'm going to take this little core right on out of it. The Boy Scouts would be mad at me. I'm cutting at myself with a knife. So you're just going to pull this core right out. You could do that, but it's going to break down slower than the leaves are, so I like to cut those out. So I didn't waste too much of my cabbage, and I'm going to cut this as thinly as I can. Now this is all personal preference. You can cut it in a little bit bigger pieces. You can use your food processor if you want to cut it up even smaller. But this is just a little quick slaw. So I'm just going to rough cut it up real thin.
But it's a fermented slaw, so this isn't going to be ready for dinner.
No, this slaw, we like to ferment ours for about 5-6 days. You can go as long or as short as you want. So we always recommend that when you check your slaw as it's fermenting, that you taste it as you check it, because you may like it a little bit longer or you might like it shorter. All right, so I have half my cabbage here, all cut up in little. I'm gonna
some salt here. That is another ingredient, salt.
cut my core. I'm gonna slice, slice, slice.
I'm going to take a little bit of the salt and start distributing it.
It calls for 1.5 tablespoons of salt, and we use kosher salt. You don't really want to use table salt, so if you don't have kosher salt, use that like pink Himalayan salt, something that's not sea salt, something that doesn't have the anti-caking agent in it. It'll make your product a little weird if you use that. So you just want to use kosher salt or sea salt or the pink Himalayan salt. And what you're going to do is you're going to massage that cabbage with the salt, and it's going to help break it down. And because you want it to start its process, it's going to start making juices. So you're just going to put all this in your bowl. Now you can see you can use a bigger bowl, but it's going to break down and you won't need that big of a bowl. All right.
Now, you can have your kids help. They can just squeeze and massage.
Or if you're getting really frustrated, you can get some kind of pounder and start pounding it down as well, just to create some breakdown. And what it's going to do is start that process going, because you want it to create juices. So I'm going to do my onion. And once again, I have my onion that's starting to sprout because I'm waste not, want not. We don't have time for that. So I'm going to use what I have. And I'm going to cut that into thin slices as well. So I've got my onion peeled here. And I'm going to cut this side, peel this. And I'm going to thinly slice my onion as well.
I'm used to using a much larger bowl. But you can use any size bowl you want that you can comfortably massage and break it down. Not that there's not room in this bowl, it's just easier to get in there and really work it if you have a big bowl.
All right. Going to just do the second half here. And I did read somebody say that they were starting to cry from their onions. I don't have any tips or tricks. except for it happens to the best of us. If you have a fresher onion, sometimes it makes it so you don't cry as much. But sometimes you might just need a good little cry, so blame it on the onions. Just joking. But you can wear those little goggles that protect your eyes so those little juices and everything don't get in there. But really, you're just going to cry anyways. So just embrace it. All right. So then I'm going to do my carrots. Now my carrots, it calls for 3 carrots. I'm going to post the recipe down below, so don't worry about trying to jot it down real quick. I'm going to have 3 carrots. You'll see I have not peeled my carrots because there's no reason to peel them.
They're washed good.
They're washed good. We washed them really good. Or if you're from Missouri like Grandma, you washed them. So you're going to just wash your carrots really good. You don't want to take all that off because guess what? That's added nutrients in your carrots. And we can all stand to have extra nutrients in our diet. So we're not going to wash that off. I'm just going to cut the end off where the green part was coming out of the carrot. And I'm going to cheat because I don't like using cheese graters. I hate them. I always end up like scraping my knuckles. So I'm going to use my food processor, which I have right over here. And I have it on the cheese slicer grater part. And I'm just going to stick my carrots in there. Cut them in half so that you can, your food processor will turn on. And I'm just going to stick them in the food processor. Process up. You want to finish that, Grandma? And then I'm going to cut up 2 jalapenos. Remember, when you cut up jalapenos, you want to be careful and wash your hands afterward. Don't grab your small children or anything. If you want it not as hot, you can take those seeds right out. Or if you want a little bit of spice, leave the seeds in. The seeds are where a lot of the heat come from. So I'm going to leave our seeds in. Is that okay with you, Grandma? And I'm going to just thinly slice them. And I just cut mine in half, and I'm just going to thinly slice my jalapenos here. You can dice them. You can food processor them if you want to. It's really your personal preference. The shape of them doesn't really matter. But if you put big, huge hunks in there, they won't break down as much. So you'll get a big bite of a jalapeno.
And then now Nicole will be massaging them because I can't glue the peppers. But we'll get it all in there. There's our carrots.
I think these jalapenos have a little bit of spice. I can feel it.
You can always cut down a little bit.
Yeah, you can always do less jalapenos, or like I said, take the seeds out and they won't be as spicy.
Move that out of the way now so we can get
Grandma's a big proponent of clean up as you go, so you'll see her. She keeps walking away and cleaning up. We can't break her of some of her habits she has, but a clean kitchen makes for an easier kitchen to work in, and we all want to keep as sanitary as possible. I wanted to point out one trick. I have a towel under my cutting board. When you're cutting big heads of cabbage and big things, and your cutting board keeps sliding around on your counter, you're going to end up cutting yourself. So put a towel, a dish towel, something under your cutting board, damp or dry, but damp works best, and it will keep your cutting board in place so you don't cut yourself. Next, I have my limes. It calls for a teaspoon of fresh lime juice. I don't know how much will come out of these, so I do have 2 here, and I'm just going to squeeze in my teaspoon of lime juice. You can measure this into a cup if you would like. All right, she's going to keep on massaging that. Now, what you want to do is you want to keep massaging your slaw here until it creates a bunch of juices. That lime juice is not going to create enough juice to cover it, because when you ferment your product, you want it kept under the brine, under the water. So what we can do is we can make our own brine, and in the recipe I post, I have directions for that brine, so it will produce more liquid, and it can cover your stuff, because you want it all submerged in your brining liquid, or else it will mold and it will get make you sick if you eat it. It just will get molds on it and it will go bad instead of ferment, and we want fermentation, not rotting, and so you want to keep it under that liquid. So I'm just going to help Grandma out a little bit, massage this just a little bit more, and we're going to show you how you stick it in your jar here. Now, if you don't have any sort of a jar, say you just have a big bowl. You can use your big bowl. You just have to press it all down with maybe your dinner plate or plate, a plastic plate, just to hold it all down under the liquid. But if you have a nice crock like this, say you used to store your flour and your sugar in it, or candy or cookies or something, use this kind of jar. Or if you have quart canning jars, they work really well. Or you can use a plastic tub, some kind of Tupperware. You'll see this one has a little bit of a red hue. That's from fermenting kimchi in it. Even though this is food grade plastic, it still changes the color. So we save this one just for fermenting. And the carrot, you wouldn't think it puts off a lot of color, but sometimes it can stain your product or your plastic. So we like glass. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick it in this crock here. Come on in, Grandma, help me out.
I'll help you out, and then we're going to make a little extra brine. That's what I was going to do.
Now once it's in your crock, you'll be able to see too how much brine you might need, because you'll be able to keep making liquid in it.
You're going to use the tamper and tamp it down to produce more liquid.
All right. So I'm just going to pound this down, and you'll start seeing the liquid coming up.
This is the same thing that you do with kimchi and sauerkraut. But mostly with sauerkraut, because kimchi you don't have to make an extra brine. I always make an extra brine with my sauerkraut. The difference between kimchi and sauerkraut is the sauerkraut, as well as this one, have your regular cabbage. Your kimchi has your napa, and it breaks down much faster than your regular cabbage. So I am going to figure out how much.
Here, I'll make that extra brine.
2 cups water, 1 teaspoon, and she wants me to pound. So we're going to have liquid that's going to cover this, believe it or not. And it just takes a few minutes of working it and breaking down those cell walls and your cabbage. And that's what we're doing here. Just breaking them down. And all she's going to do is dissolve the salt in the water that we're going to put on this to make sure all of this is under the brine. But you want it cool when you put it in. So we're just breaking it down. So what I usually do is I make my brine ahead of time and just have it sitting there because I'm not wasting much. You've got a teaspoon of salt and 2 cups of water. So if you have to toss it, you don't need it, you're not out a lot. But this makes it real pretty in a jar, and it tastes really good. And it's actually a fast ferment. And so she is going to bring that over.
So we're just gonna pour a little bit of this water on it,
This
just
is
till
brine.
it covers. It's the brine, the salt water.
Okay.
And you'll see there's some entrails up here on the jar. You really want to clean those off because those will also mold if they're out of the water.
So I go down and get as much as I can off with my hand. Then we'll wipe it off with paper towel or a towel. And we want our jar nice and clean before we put anything else on it.
So I'm just going to wipe it with the paper towel. There's nothing on this paper towel. It's just going to clean those entrails off. All right.
See a little up here.
All right, so then what we're going to do is we're going to put a plastic plate on it, and we're just going to push it down in there. If you have cheesecloth, you can use it, but most of you probably don't have cheesecloth laying around, so just use that plastic plate just to push all that stuff underneath there. And you're going to take either a big cup, something heavy, and you're going to set it on top of it just to hold it under the water. So you can see this empty jar is enough. If it's not, put some water on it. And you're going to cover it up with a towel, and you're going to Cover it up and make sure no bugs or anything can get in it. And you're going to ferment it in a place for like 75-degree temperature
Just
or
room
temperature for 5 to 7 days, and then it's delicious, ready to eat. Store it in your refrigerator in a little jar and keep a lid on it. We like to keep it in small jars so we're not constantly introducing new bacteria to it. But this is a great, great probiotic, good for your stomach, keep you healthy recipe, just quick and easy for you guys to do with what you have in your house. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget, give us your suggestions on what kind of videos you like. We love you guys. Stay happy, stay healthy.
We'll post the recipe.